Read now.
Read now. We are live. Welcome to the Read Now Book Club, the live discussion of our very first book for the month of March, Deadcaster. I'm your host, Kaufman. Co-host. Oh my goodness, I'm not used to not being not solo on these. I'm your fellow co-host,
Head
Kaufman.
host. Head host.
Head host. I'm one of those. I'm hosting dragons. I'll be the dragon host. On a mission to try to read more frequently, and help writers out there with the reading experience. The Read Now Book Club is the first book club for writers. One of the first book clubs for writers. We'll say that. So definitely make sure to come stick around. Today, we're going to be doing a full discussion of ML Claxon's book, Deadcaster. We're going to be doing a full live discussion of Deadcaster. We're going to be starting off with a non-spoiler free chat for you guys, for anyone who's hopping in and hasn't read the book yet. Then we'll be diving into what our thoughts were, what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. And make sure to stick around for the end, because we're going to announce the April book of the month for Sci-Fi Book Month in April. So make sure to stick around and we will chat more. I'll kick it over to these guys to introduce themselves.
Should I read the thing for Deadcaster now or later?
You guys can probably introduce yourself, and then we'll do the Deadcaster.
I am Lauren Nettles. I write books. Surprise! Come to me. I have my horror collection, Tiny Shivers, and it's 101 short stories, drabbles, and flashes. I am currently writing a Halloween paranormal romance, so that is really fun. And yeah, shall I give my non-spoiler review now, or?
Let's let Courtney and Adrian, you guys can introduce yourselves real quick.
Okay.
Courtney.
I'm Courtney. I write contemporary romance, and I'm an avid reader.
Right on. I'm Adrian Santiago. I'm an author of that book right there. I don't have a physical copy because I sold a couple of copies this last week, but I have this one, which is the short story that you can get for free if you sign up to the newsletter, booksbyadrian.com. Go check it out.
What a good place to be in. Be like, I'm out of copies because I sold them all.
I just ordered a couple, yeah, so they should be coming in. I'm 3 copies away from the first 400 being sold, so that's pretty good.
Congratulations, my friend. That's incredible. How's it feel?
To your level, please.
It's a milestone for sure. There's that like crazy statistic or whatever that like most indie authors sell like 250 copies in like the 2 years of the life of the book, and with mine coming up on 2 years and creeping up on 400, that's nice. It feels good.
Awesome. So let's get into it. So for everyone who doesn't know, our March book of the month was Deadcaster, which was quite a fun little read. As like Kaufman is definitely always prepared with the Read Now Book Club stuff. So our March book of the month was Deadcaster. Perfect. Here we go. So before we hop into the non-spoiler portion of the discussion, Laura, did you want to read the blurb for anyone who's just hopping in, what the book is about?
Yes. So this is Deadcaster by M.L. Claxon, who I believe is here in the chat. The synopsis on Amazon states, when the veil between worlds tore, nightmares spilled into reality. Vampires, hellhounds, and worse. People coexistence became a fragile illusion. Devin Edwin Allen Durham, the black sheep of the prestigious wizarding family, is a failure, or so they think. Branded weak by his ruthless mother, Devin hides a forbidden truth. His magic, drawn from the underworld, is powerful, mysterious, and feared. Darkness doesn't just live in monsters, it lives in people. When a college prank turns scandalous, political betrayal leaves Devin exiled in enemy warlock territory. Stripped of everything, Devin must harness the chaos of his death magic to survive. and confront the vampire haunting his dreams. His search for answers becomes a dangerous bid for survival, whose love could be his salvation or his undoing. Perfect for fans of paranormal fantasy, this new adult tale explores magic, betrayal, and love in a broken, monstrous world. This book may not be suitable for readers under the age of 18.
Uh, all right. Wonderful. Laura, excellent reading. Excellent, excellent reading. You must have read a few books in your time.
I have!
Awesome. So as we're thinking about it, Deadcaster, the non-spoiler review. So we want to hear from you guys. Drop a comment. What first off, what did you guys think of the book? Without giving any spoilers. So big overview of the book. Any initial thoughts?
So, my non spoiler review is that this is a book for those who like Greek and Roman aesthetics, vampires, and magic casters with a romance subplot.
I loved the Greek mythology in the book, by the way. I think that was one of my favorite parts. The Greek mythology of the world was really, really cool. I think I wanted to see it taken in even more depth, but I think there were so many cool elements. I'm like, yes, Heracles, yes, Hermes, yes, so many character types in there.
hmm
Hmm.
I said that there's some fun world building for magic schools and different
Hmm.
magical affinity. So I really liked the layout of the second school with the streets and stuff,
Hmm.
and the shops and things. Like it felt more like a college campus. So that was cool. I would say read the trigger warnings before picking it up. And for me, the romance and the prose were lackluster, but there were some cool world building concepts that kept me going. And that was
Yeah.
my non spoiler.
Awesome.
I liked it. I think it started off really slow, and it takes a minute for it to grab your attention. But
Mhm.
once it does, like you're just turning pages, and then once it ends,
Mhm.
you're like, wait, no, I'm not done. Like I want more.
Mm.
And I think that's like a good part of the book.
So it's almost like it started picking up for you right at the good part. You're like, now the story is like getting started.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of things that I really liked about this. First of all, like the "Who's it for" thing, like it might not necessarily have been written for me, but it looks like it bridges like a really interesting gap between like a
Mhm.
YA novel and like an adult fantasy. You know, with
Yeah,
all
it
the
kind of
trigger warnings
borderline.
in there.
It kind of went. It kind of
It
borderline
skated that edge,
that
yeah.
age gap a little bit.
So it might be a nice like transition novel for new readers, like stepping into more mature reading, but they still have, Harry Potter in their hearts. You know what I mean? Like it can
Mhm.
kind of like bridge that gap.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what it felt like. It felt like it was like a pseudo Harry Potter world. That's with it
Something
with
like
like
that, yeah.
the different like schools and the lay. It's like Harry Potter world set against Greek mythology and
Right.
vampires.
And
Mhm.
then and I really enjoyed like the way that the chapters were like short and snappy. Like every chapter there was a new thing. Like this chapter is, the werewolf, and this
Mhm.
chapter is the witches, and like it keeps you in a new place like every new chapter. So I really like that. The pacing of it was really good.
Mhm.
Like I said, I don't know that I was necessarily the target audience, but
Mhm.
I found things to enjoy in this thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were definitely a lot of elements I enjoyed. I think my biggest thing that I wanted more of was I wanted more of a lot of the different elements. What was there was interesting. There was a lot of really interesting world building elements. There were a lot of characters. And granted, I'm not a romance reader, so let me just clarify. I don't read romance, but our two main characters. Um, Edwin and
That was Devin and Lysander.
Yeah.
I was like Edwin. Oh god, you're like you didn't read the book.
It's one of those
Devin
are one of
and
his middle names, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's all right because he had like such like a long
He
name,
had four names.
Devin and Lysander. I felt like we kind of like got the hint, the hint and the introduction of their dynamic throughout the book. Um, but I feel like I wanted more. Like I wanted like more depth. I almost felt like I got like the surface level of it.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, as far as for new readers and whatnot, like I think that what everybody's saying here kind of holds true. That kind of like Harry Potter, but more grown up, and you've got your love interest, you've got all that kind of fun stuff. I felt I actually related a lot to this author because he does something that I do, which is everybody tells you like don't hold anything back from your novel just because you're doing a series or something. Like don't
Mhm.
hold something really cool until book 3 or whatever. Like put it in the book, like
Mhm.
you'll get more ideas later. So I kind of live by that. I like if I have a good idea, I try to find a way to work it in if I can because I don't
Mhm.
want to like make people wait for good stuff. And I feel like this author got that same what's it called that same advice from somebody because it felt like any like cool thing that he loved, like he wanted to put it in his book, so it's all in there.
Mhm.
There's just something for everybody. If you're in there for ghosts and and the undead, like he's got you. If you're there for werewolves, he's got you. You're there for
Mhm.
vampires, he's got you. Like like you're gonna find something in this book.
So I'm curious, guys. So when we think about the book as a whole, what do you guys think worked the best for it? Like, what do you guys think was like the one thing that really worked well?
Are we stepping into spoiler territory? Are we done with the
Yeah, I know how
non-spoiler?
it
Is
Uh,
that
is.
it? Are we good?
yeah, I was like, I think we're good
Let them
without like
know.
stepping around. I think we're good without stepping around
Just let them
the
know.
bush. I think we're good to go
Cool.
into spoilers.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So everyone,
Spoilers.
I know I was like I should
That's not that. I just wanted to warn people because people get upset. So just warn them first.
I'm glad you asked because I'm not sure I would be able to answer that without giving it.
All right, so let me put this
That's why.
spoilers. I was like, oh, I wish that was a bigger banner, but spoilers. I'll just like bring it like, all right, there we
Yeah,
go.
flash it. we need
All
we need
right,
a
so
siren.
let's hop into the spoilers portion of it because I think there's so much stuff that we really want to unpack and kind of what you shared, Courtney. I know that I think a lot of the book, the meat of the book, really starts a little later in the narration, and I think that's
Yeah,
probably a lot of the things that we actually really want to discuss.
yeah. I feel like the Roman part of the book could have been shortened to like
Mm-hmm.
a chapter or two. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be as long as it was. And then the Greek
Mm-hmm.
part, I wanted more of. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can put some of that Roman parts in later, but I feel like the Greek is the book, the Roman's the old life. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, when he died, that, like, it should have been sooner, which is crazy to think because, like,
Mm-hmm.
you want to push that off. But, like, in this book, I think it would have worked out fine if he would have done that sooner, like, if he would have died sooner.
Yeah, and I think I picked up on that as well, Courtney. I think one of the biggest opportunities for the book was the plot. I think the plot from about the 20% mark to about the 60% mark could have been cut. Because all the cool things started happening once you got past, which I don't know if there was a real midpoint for the book or not, but once you got past about the halfway point of the book, that's when really cool things happened, at least in regards to the plot itself. In regards to the world building, I actually completely agree with Penumbra. I think this is what stood out to the Greek parts. Like the school was interesting to me. I
Oh,
like that there was these different classes. I was like down for like there was the what was that the not the fairies. There's the I just
The
remember they were
Fae.
like the Fae, yeah. The Fae and they were kind of like the wind type and there was the Hellhounds and they were the fire
Fire.
type. And I thought that was cool. He was
and
became the necromancer. I was down for each of those and I thought that was cool and it was a really smart choice. And
yeah,
Courtney, like you said, I wish we had gotten that like sorting hat type ceremony earlier on. But I mean, when we think about the layout of Harry Potter, right, the first Harry Potter book, I don't think he gets to Hogwarts until the second act. I don't think Hogwarts starts until Act Two, I believe,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure the inciting incident is Harry Potter. I think the letter's the inciting incident, and then it's him getting to Hogwarts.
yeah. I
Mhm.
don't feel like we needed a whole chapter on the week leading up to him getting caught for doing the prank.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like
like
that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like
I
everything that
agree
was
with you.
there was needed. It was
Mhm.
just too wordy and could have been shortened and add those words to the end of the book because I feel like I got abruptly ended.
Mhm.
I was like,
And
okay, we're done. And
yep.
I'm like, wait, hold on, how are we done?
But the reason it didn't work was because a lot of those elements didn't pertain to the character's journey through the midpoint and the climax. That is
So
why. Where in
I
Harry Potter, what he learns with the Dursleys and how he's beat up and the letter and all of that stuff pertains to how he defeats Quirrell at the end of the book.
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
you know, most of my critiques of the book I think would be easily solvable with another edit. If this author, you know, decides to send his book to a new editor for a
Mhm.
fresh edit and come
Mhm.
back with, you know, a new edition later on, there's a 4.5 5-star book in here somewhere with
Mhm.
a really solid other edit because most of my problems with it, like I said, like whenever I ran into stuff as
Mhm.
a now published author who has read his own book and gone,
Mhm.
oh, I could have used another edit. You know, like I can still use another edit. You know, and so I recognize it, and I'm like, if he does one more edit on this
Mhm.
book, it would be so solid. You know, like it's
Mhm.
it's it's like almost there. It's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, one more edit,
Yeah,
and
because there were a lot
set
of
off.
really cool things there, right? The world building
Yeah,
was
he's got
cool.
cool
There's some great
ideas.
characters.
He's got,
Yeah.
you know, a good flow. His pacing is really good. I think
Mhm.
what and I agree with what you guys are saying where for example, you guys wanted more of the Greek stuff. I wanted more like character and personal stuff. And
Mhm.
as far as the world building, I wanted a little bit more detail in the
Mhm.
descriptions, a little more detail because since this particular fantasy world is so very much like ours where they have TVs and they have
Mhm.
smartphones and, you know, all that stuff. I need to know like what makes it different. Like I need to see it because
Mhm.
otherwise I'm just picturing us. I'm just picturing this. And so
Mhm.
like I wanted a lot more detail from his world building. And so I think that we're all agreeing that you know, if he were to peel back the layers a little more in all these, it would be a lot better. Because even my issues with the storytelling, it
Mhm.
comes down to things often being very on the nose and
Mhm.
just being like said out loud. When all of the subtext is there, he just needed
Mhm.
like one more layer of descriptive stuff around it to like really make it pop.
Mhm.
So yeah, man,
What
it's
I'm curious, what do you guys think of the magic? With like, it seemed like the magic of the world was basically spells and potions that were each like listed as a name.
Hmm.
Um, the catechist, like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wish that was described better because I had no clue
Mhm.
what, like, was it an animal doing things for
Mhm.
him? How did he talk? Like, I was so confused over that
Mhm.
that I was just like, okay, I read fantasy. I don't know what I'm reading.
And
it was a
I
soft
I
magic
haven't.
system
Yeah, yeah. So I
that
think it was like a wand. I think it was like a wand, but like snakes, it like become like turns into snakes or something like that. Or like it's like a wand and like the end is like transformative of some
Right, but
type.
he's talking to it, and like he
Mhm.
just
it's
in the
And
book
sentient
there's
it's
wings.
described as like a wand.
and
But
there's
I
wings.
feel like its purpose is like a wand, but it doesn't look or
For me,
you
it
know.
was
So
like
so
the health staff with the staff and the snakes.
yeah, when you look at it, that's exactly what it is. This is what a catechist is. But like for not everyone know. I didn't know what a catechist was, right? So
How do you
this is
say
essentially what it is. It's a staff with the intertwined snakes. And because this book was so focused on like Greek mythology, my guess is this is probably what what they're going for.
that's fair.
That
Mhm.
makes sense.
I missed that as well. I think the opportunity there was more on the prose level of the narrative, and I noticed that I picked
Agreed.
this up throughout the book. A lot of the characters and a lot of things that happened were super cool, but I realized there'd be like a character or an event or a plot point, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I know that's there, but I don't have any description about what the thing is. And I realized the opportunity was setups. The things like the catechist, things like a lot of the characters, a lot of the moments they don't have setups, and because they don't have setups, or they're just very brief, like they're a sentence. Um, and I think it's intentional because I think the author was trying to do like foreshadowing and like keep the pacing, and the pacing worked. But because a lot of these things don't have setups, the readers don't have clear enough visualizations of each of these different elements. This happened with a number of the characters as well. Um, But yeah, I think it was really just the catechist could have had one paragraph of a description of what it looked like, what it felt like, and then the reader would have been on board with that. And Adrian,
Yeah,
like I said, these were
like
really easy fixes too.
yeah, because I totally like I'm gonna jump back onto the Harry Potter thing because I think we can all visualize that. But like like when they're like the pixies that are flying, I'm
Mhm.
picturing the catechist like that,
Mhm.
but snake-like and just like
Okay.
floating near him when he needs it, and like why is this thing so unruly? We never get into that. We
But the
never
thing
get
is, it's
into
cool.
how
It's
other
cool that it's
ones are,
Mhm.
how other people handle them. Like I feel like that was a missed opportunity if we're
Mhm.
like because it's a big part of him.
Brandon
Mhm.
Sanderson does that in the Stormlight books. He has these things called spren, which
Mhm.
are like these little fairy-like beings
Mhm.
that the mindless ones kind of sprout out when certain things happen, but then some of them become sentient and some of them bond to people. So like you'll have a dude walking around and there's like a little spren like that looks like a person talking to him and he's talking to it, and he can see it, but nobody else can see it. So everybody looks crazy. It's like, but yeah, like that. That's the vibes that I was getting from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Penumbra is kind of saying that in their imagination, the staff is something that floated on its own. And I think when I thought of Catechus, I
It's
thought
the
the
cape from
wand
Doctor
and the snake
Strange,
come out at the end.
but as a staff. It's
Hmm.
the cape from Doctor Strange, but as a staff. It's like it's
Hmm.
alive. It's its own thing, but it's a
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
I just feel like I was like a little bit of a missed opportunity because
Yeah.
it confused me for a minute. Like it definitely pulled me out of the book and I was like,
Hmm.
what is this? But I also like didn't want to get so pulled out that I didn't finish and like go and
Hmm.
research. So I just feel like we could have described that a little bit more.
You know what I you know what one of the things that I really loved though was once we get I think this is about 60-70% of the way in. Once he gets his house with
I
like the
was
skeleton,
just gonna say that.
the house was like
I
the
was,
coolest thing ever. I
I
like
was
loved everything that happened at the house. The house was
You
like
took mine.
I forget what was his title. I forgot what his title was.
Count of Purgatory.
The Count of
Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
that was such a smart choice
Yeah.
because then the reader's anticipating the Count of Purgatory. Oh, I want to see this house. That was so well done.
Yeah.
And I think he introduced the house at the right time. I
He's
think
a
that part of the
necromancer,
plot was
like it
amazing.
flows.
We get to his
Okay,
house.
before we
I
get
could
to the
imagine
house though, before we get to the house though, does anybody have a favorite line of this book? Because I do, and it's at the
Oh,
dorms.
okay,
Okay,
what is it?
I
don't
didn't pick
have
a favorite line. Go for it. I want to
Yeah.
hear it.
It's my only highlighted part of this whole book, but it's my favorite line. It says,
Okay.
I know that my chest proclaimed that I am dead, but did the academy have to give me a dorm room with a fucking casket? Talk about rubbing salt in the wound. Love that line.
Okay, I do have to admit
it. Right.
that moment with that roommate was hilarious.
I
Trying
want
to
to
figure
know
out how
how
to
it's a
open the
roommate.
sarcophagus.
I
Yeah, and of
want to
course he
know.
gets there and I'm like, I could totally picture that. He walks into his room as a necromancer and he's supposed to sleep inside a sarcophagus, but he's not a vampire. Like that was great.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
And then he has to like, hey, you want to teach me how to open it?
Mhm.
Like I
I
love
have
that.
vampire strength.
That's so me.
Mhm.
That would so be me. I'd be like, so
Yeah, and
I
I think
I
that
want to
I think that speaks to some of the character dynamics. So I think a lot of the character dynamics between each other were actually well done because Penumbra mentioned Dolores. I
oh,
think Dolores was actually done well. I think there were some opportunities to emphasize some of her appearance in the middle of the book, but I think as a character in the beginning and the climax, I think she worked well as a foil for him.
oh, I was
Oh, as a
so
foil, yeah.
so mad in
Mhm.
the beginning. So mad
Mhm.
in the beginning.
Right? But
Everybody
that was
I
smart.
didn't.
I hate it. I'm like, damn, what a
I,
bee.
I really hate. Yeah, I really hated her from the jump. I was
I
not a
hated
Dolores
her
fan.
and mad at Devin. I was like, why are you allowing this
Yeah,
behavior? Grow a
yeah,
backbone. Let's go. Like,
yeah.
Dolores was like, Dolores was a psycho. I really wondered if Dolores' father and Devin's mother were lovers the way his mom protected her. I actually kind of
Mm.
wondered that as well. I didn't know. I think I didn't understand about the dad that much.
Sacrifice.
And I was like, I don't know if we needed to understand. I think they alluded enough in during the trial. Um,
I
I
also think at
almost
the
feel
end, I think at the end it was like,
he's the villain. I almost feel like Dolores should have been like using a spell, and Dolores should have been the mastermind. I feel like Dolores should have been enchanting the dad. And Dolores should have been the main mastermind.
Well, you know he's
When
writing the
really,
second
because we were led to believe the dad was probably the one who was manipulating, but I think it would have been stronger in that sense.
Well, he's writing the second book. It still could.
Hey, there we go. ML in book 2.
Dolores is your mastermind because we
Dolores is
all
your
hate her.
mastermind. Return of the Dolores.
And this is also the beauty, right, of being an independent author like this, right?
Mhm.
He's in the chat now, right?
Mhm.
And so I know right now this dude is taking mad notes because he's like,
Mhm.
I'm writing book 2,
Mhm.
and oh, they want more layers. I can flesh these out. Oh, they want
Mhm.
more of the Greek stuff. I can jam some of that back in. Like he still has time to make his second book just fucking awesome. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
still do an edit on this book, and the whole series like elevates. Like
Mhm.
he,
I completely
he's
agree
happy.
with that. I mean, there's so many authors who their early books are learning experiences, and then they either reprint those books and they're like 10 times better, or they just keep improving the later books in the series. That actually happens for a lot of indie and self-published authors.
Yeah,
I
right now
have indie authors that I read that their first book, looking now at it, I'm like, okay, that's
Mhm.
kind of trash, but don't touch it because it made me read the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And like, if you can hook them on these series, they'll go back and watch and read that and just know that it's your first and see your growth. And I almost kind
Mhm.
of like that, but I'm also like weird like that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Sanderson always said, right? I think he
100%
said he
about
wrote
that.
like 7 or 8 books before he even got his first one published, I believe. But
His the first book they published was his sixth, and then
Mhm.
his second book published was his 13th or
And
14th.
I forgot what was the one that he said that wasn't great that he had to rewrite years later. There
Oh, he rewrote The Way of Kings from
was it The Way
scratch,
of Kings, because I think he always says how
and
The Way of
that's a
Kings when
huge book.
he launched it originally and it just wasn't that good, so he rewrote
Oh,
it years later.
yeah,
He
yeah.
rewrote it years later,
I
and it was
think that's
just
probably it.
because he had grown as a writer over
Mm,
time,
mm.
and now he's one of the top writers in the industry. So there you
I've
go.
been diving into his series lately, and I'm
Mhm.
having a blast in there, man. It's his books are crazy. His books are freaking crazy. I've learned so much, and it's improving my book too. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to be Sanderson, but it's improving my writing. Like he's a damn good writer.
I'll be the next Sanderson. I can do it.
Dude, you got to
you
catch
got
me first. You got to catch me first. Uh,
So I wrote up a lot of my thoughts.
Mhm.
Just it's a,
Right before you say that, Laura, I just want to call out Penumbra, Dolores, Delulu, Queen of the Demons. I really hope
Courtney says
ML.
that's an insult to demons.
okay, first off, you said it first, and I said yes, that is an insult. I totally agree. Insult to demons. So
That's
put more
funny.
respect on demons.
ML, I
Damn.
hope Dolores comes back as a demoness in book 2. That's my hope. Demoness,
And change
demons,
the
and
attitude.
I want Lilith back. I really want Lilith back.
I like Lilith.
Their rivalry was awesome, by the way.
Lilith is
Love it.
cool.
Um,
I have no
but
qualms
Laura,
with
as you were about to say,
So some things I liked. I love the cover. The cover was great. With the purple magic, the pose, and the moon, and the font with the shines. I thought it was a well
Mhm.
done cover. The concept of the multiverse, where the different worlds collapsing into the same space, leashing a clash of species and cultures that have to coexist. I thought that was really cool. Um, However, the prose, I felt like I wasn't actually ever sucked into the book. I felt like I was reading it as a writer the whole time.
Yep.
There were moments where we moved from one location to another without actually saying we were moving, so I got a bit lost. Like when we're going from the jail cell to the car with the
A lot
mom
of
in the
white
beginning.
room syndrome sometimes too. A
Mhm.
lot of like, wait, where am I again? Like, like everything just kind of looks the same in my head right now.
Mhm.
Because, like, we've got to move, like, get to the car, and then we're just talking, and I assume we're just standing there talking, but no, we're in the car, we're moving. Oh, okay. I didn't realize we had actually walked anywhere.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
There were
Yeah,
repeated
the pros.
phrases that were said so often in just a few pages that it felt unnecessary and distracting,
Mm.
i.e., the dishonor among thieves spell in that whole section was repeated over and over again.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Oh, there she
I
is.
think I think there was a missed opportunity with the altered minds potion, where we could have had some really cool psychedelic prose and imagery, because he's
Mhm.
supposed to be out of his mind, but instead we
Um,
have a pretty unimpeded view of the whole um, courtroom case going on,
Mm.
which
Yeah, I mean, I think it did work. I think the intent with it did work. I think it was, from a plotting perspective, as a smart choice. But I think it's like the descriptions. I think we wanted more of that, similar to what you said, Adrian, expanding so it felt a little less white room.
Yeah.
Like I think we got a lot of unimpeded description of the court proceedings through the POV instead, which I understand you want the reader to know what's happening, but maybe have Devon remember what it's supposed to look like from a previous state trial that has been broadcast in the past, but now it's overlaid with terrifying visions and colors and melting reality.
Or just not have him altered mind like that. Just have him mute.
Yeah, one way or the other.
There
was a
it gives you that impression that it's going to be a certain way, and then it doesn't end up being that way. And now you're like, just change the name of the spell.
Like everybody was saying like he's out of his mind. It's like, is he? He just seems mute. And then
I mean, I think it's because he had the 2 spells. There were a couple lines where it talked about him like drooling and about him kind of being unruly. I think we just needed, once again, more setup. We needed more additional setup for what we were physically seeing for the result of the spell beyond his mutism.
Yeah. There was a lot of telling instead of letting us live the scene with dialogue and interiority to let us know how it's actually making the main character feel. Like the first time he does magic that really works for him, the Odysseus potion, we completely gloss over him making a potion that works. And finally being able to do something besides study history. And I think that's a lost opportunity that in a second edition could be really fun to explore and have that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I actually do belong here and I'm not a complete failure and I can do something that I am passionate about and I'm not stuck in history.
It's that character stuff that I said I wanted. Just I wanted him to dive into some character stuff. I always felt like we were, for the most part, dealing with very surface level type stuff, and I wanted to get deeper.
I feel like we were dealing with deep issues.
Yeah.
I feel like that. Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like there was a lot of opportunities to touch, like your mother abandoning you.
The content was there.
Trying to kill you, your father being silent but helping you, and that kind of like, hello, be the man and like step up, like, hello, you're my father. I am your child.
Yeah, there's so much room for conflict there. There's so much like room for back and forth.
I think the reason, once we get into that like 40, I think that was about 40% of the way into the book, with the catechist potion, I believe. I think that it feels the reason that those things started becoming more glossed over, plot and or character wise, was because the focus became about the relationship between Devon and Lysander. I know I keep mixing Devon, Edwin, Alan, Devon, like Devon, and blah blah blah.
It's a lot of names. It's funny. We have a big Vignum in the chat asking what we think of magic realism. Is that what this is officially like? Is that the genre magical realism? Because like that I was, as I said before, I was clashing with that a little bit with like the way that the world was so realistic, even though it had the magic in it. I always expect, once you introduce real magic into a place, that's going to change things.
Google says magical realism is a literary or artistic genre in which realistic narrative and naturalistic technique are combined with surreal elements of dream or fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't write it. I don't. I feel like it goes. I feel like we need to get off Harry Potter, but I feel like it goes back to Harry Potter.
You keep bringing us back.
Nobody else is talking
Harry Potter. Nobody else is talking about Harry Potter. It's just you.
Okay, the comments were too.
I'm just fucking.
But yeah, no, I feel like that has moments of everyday life in it, and then some moments of magic, and I feel like you wanted it to be more separated, and it was too combined for you.
And I know why, actually, because I picked up on this as well, Adrian. It's the combination of the magic world with the human world, and human world is represented through technology. The technology, the use of phones and cameras, contrast with magic, airplanes. Why? The question as a reader I ask myself is, why is he using a cell phone when he can just cast spell of communicate with anybody?
Right,
That
exactly.
for
He
me that
couldn't
makes it
do
logical.
anything in Rome.
That makes sense.
If you hit the Roman part of the book, he couldn't do anything
Right,
because
so that
he
made
was,
sense. That made a little bit more sense in the Roman world, but then
yeah,
we get into magic world, and it's like, well, why are they using cell phones when it just doesn't make sense? And it could make sense, but we didn't get an explanation for that
yeah,
part of the world building.
I
Right,
think
right.
it makes more sense in the Greek world actually because humans attended the school.
exactly. It makes
But
sense in
Yeah,
both. It's just not spoke on enough.
so I think that for me, it was like, well, I'm pretty sure all the cell towers would have gone down and everything with the whole cataclysm of the event with the merging of the multiverse.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, would they have had time to have claim over the land to like rebuild the stuff that they needed to make all this technology work and electrical power plants and stuff?
I feel like they
Like,
would have, but
Why
they
would they
only would
would?
have done it for
Why
the
would
Roman part. I feel like they would have just said, well, screw the rest of the world. We're just going to do it for our area of humanity.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if I was working on it, I think I would have kept the technology for the Roman area and then have it became of no use once they get into more the Greek area.
But what about the humans?
because there's humans at the school.
There
Great.
are, but I think it's one of those things human have to adapt. I think you would actually have fun with that. If human
Yeah.
like has a cell phone and they make comment of like, well, this
Can't
is
get any bars
this
out
is
here,
like an
man.
antique. This is like an antique or an
Antique.
artifact over here.
Yeah, yeah,
Antique out here. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think you raise a good point because the whole point is sort of that these worlds have sort of collided and like now they're thrust into each other. So, like, yeah, there's going to be those different sides to it. I just wanted more from the world building, man. Yeah, it makes sense. That's what I wanted was more layers, more depth. Like I said, all the ideas were there. I just wanted to see him play with them a little more.
Yeah.
I
I would
agree.
love to hear from you guys. If you guys were going to do like a world building element like this, like Adrian, you were going to say add more, what would you add?
Well, again, it's not add more things. It's
Hmm.
tell me more about the things,
Hmm.
and you can fix that with just you're in a character's head and he doesn't know about a thing. He's going to want to learn about that thing and just dive into it, put him into a situation with that thing and see how it
Hmm.
happens and reacts and I wanted more from the world. I wanted to
Hmm.
experience the world through the character's eyes rather than watching the character do things.
Hmm.
Like I wanted to live in with him a little bit, and I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. That I think it was you, Laura, who said it that we were reading it as authors rather than as readers. And when something is really well written, I forget that I'm an author and I read it as a reader and I get excited and I get surprised and I get lost in it. So I know that's what I was clashing with here. Is I was reading it as an author, and so like I felt too much of the author in the text, and I wanted him to step aside and give me the characters, and that's hard to do. Like that's challenging. So it's I'm looking forward to seeing his next book
Hmm.
because I definitely see loads of potential here. Like I said, he's got the ideas. Now I just want to see him play with them. And if he plays with them in the next book, we're gonna have a great time.
Mhm. I agree with what Maggie was saying. How the love interest, like the whole romance, felt a bit insta-lovey. Um, like the connection seems superficial, and it could have gone like in the beginning is like you could have gone for the Hellhound or Lysander. Like there's as much connection to either one. It
Twilight. We
feels.
got Twilight vibe over here.
I
Well,
honestly didn't know that
Team
they were
Hellhound.
until way later in the book that it was described like the way it was
What
described.
The
I
Hellhound.
didn't
what a hellhound was?
Yeah.
no, I'm just saying I didn't know that Devin and Lannister were hooking up. They
Hmm.
were dating.
oh,
I didn't know. And I read open door romance, like
Hmm.
all the smutty. And I'm like, wait, hold
Mm.
on. Because like they're telling people they hook up. And I was like, when did you all hook up?
Well, I'm
it
pretty sure
was
the first time they hooked up was after the class was the blood drawing assignment,
it,
which I asked. I'm like, Wait, so teachers would ask vampires to go get this blood ingredient. So, but the only way they can do it is they have to bite somebody. Can they bite vampires, or does it have to be humans? Like, so is the assignment now
Well,
go bite humans and get blood?
they did say it was available at the apothecary. This potion
Oh,
just
okay, I
wouldn't be
missed
as
that.
potent.
Okay, I missed that. That was a me thing. But I'm pretty sure that was the first time they hooked up. I
Yeah,
believe.
it was.
Okay.
Right,
It
but I'm
was-
just thinking they're like making out and things are getting hot and heavy and there's some touching. I didn't realize there was
That they went all the way. Okay.
happening. And I was like, wait, hold on,
I
when
think
did
it's
they
because
ever
it
do
was
that?
alluded.
And
Mhm.
and then I was like, oh no, okay, that's how, like, from someone who reads a lot of romance, it didn't read that way to this reader.
Mm. So it's almost like there should have been a little bit more illusion either probably in that post when they finish and being like, oh, okay, that was the first time. So
Yeah, like,
something that more alludes to
yeah, was it his first
yeah.
time ever having
Mhm.
sex with somebody? Like,
Mhm.
It was.
Wait, it
Mhm.
was?
do we have
It
no
was.
internal thought process with that? Are we not thinking
Yeah.
this dude overthinks everything?
And I
he's
think
not
with their
overthinking
relationship, I think we then also needed that moment at some point after that of them defining we are now boyfriends. We are in a relationship. And I think
Yeah.
it kind of transitioned into that, but it felt like it should have been a moment, maybe them leading up to oh, we're gonna go on this trip to Paris.
They needed
So
to find the relationship talk.
And that's why they should have gone to Paris to define the relationship. That should have
Well,
been
they
the
were
reason.
with everybody and then getting
Well,
sidebarred by the
they could have
forest.
easily been like, oh, let's do a trip to somewhere. Yeah, Paris. Oh, and then the friends kind of just end up adding. I'm like, oh, let's make it a friends trip. Okay,
I'm-
we'll try to get away. They get away to have the talk, and then oh, look who they're interrupted by, Dolores. The
Right, but I
demon
think they
queen.
were already like seeing each other regularly before the Paris. You should have had
Yeah.
that talk before Paris at that point.
But if that was like an early conversation for them, they're probably both too nervous. It'd probably be one of those things that they tried to talk through, and
They
I
didn't
could totally see
seem
that.
nervous.
Lau's personality doesn't come across as somebody who would have an issue stating how he feels. It's only Devin who's wishy-washy, overthinking everything, no backbone.
Mhm.
How did you do it?
He'll
And
get
have
it.
no thought process to it.
Mhm.
That's a major life-changing event.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I'm
I
with
just
you.
wish like that was
It's character stuff. Character
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It was missing. It wasn't there.
That.
I have two fun things that I wanted to say. Like I took a bunch of notes and you know most of them are like things that were like bugging me. So I'm not gonna go through them here because it's mean. But I did have a few like things that stood out to me, and one was I put a single note of Lilith is cool. That's all. Like that's all I wrote was Lilith is like really cool. I dig her. But the
Lilith is
other thing
cool.
was, what's everybody's favorite name in the book? Because mine is Healer Wiggletwig.
Mine was I forgot the first name, but Pussy Willow.
Pussy Willow.
Yeah.
Pussy Willow is a good one.
I do think the names were actually pretty well done in the book.
I mean,
think
Wiggle Twig is just too funny to me. That's fucking hilarious.
I think I liked Everbleed.
Yep.
I like Devin's name. I like that his initials stands for, what is
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
I did like
shadows
that. Yeah.
what his mom does to him.
I
Yeah.
did like that. Oh, Hail Trivia. There was something I liked.
Peter
I
Pussy
kind of
Willow.
I was kind of down for that when they were like Hail Trivia. I was like, okay, so trivia is going to be like this whole like evil sorceress or somebody is going to take over. Did you guys like that she was how the mom was handled in the beginning and then in the end?
I think it's really interesting to have the villain be your mom, who's the president. Like, I think that's a wild concept and has a lot of room for great conflict and story and stuff. I don't feel like we ever really got there. Again, it's one of those things that were it was a little on the nose for me, and I wanted a little more layer, a little more subtlety to it. But this being a series, like we got places to go. It's cool.
Penumbra wanted to see the what was that? The
Hellhounds
Hellhounds.
versus
Hellhounds.
vampires.
That should have been
Werewolves.
instead of basketball, it should have been hellhounds versus werewolves in some type of like magical sport, like the first Quidditch match. That's what
Yeah.
it should. That's what it could have been.
That was another thing. I was like, basketball. I want a magical game.
Exactly. I wanted a magical game too. I'm like okay, cool. Basketball is a good sport, but like we want a magic game. for all our magic nerds out here.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're going to like the Aztec ball game, like, but with a magical
Something.
twist.
Yeah,
Like,
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
guess I'm thinking of all the different character dynamics because there were a lot. But when I think about who our main characters are, beyond Devin, so outside of Devin, I would say the second main character is probably Lysander, Devin, and then Lysander, and then we have a lot. I actually think that minor characters could have been reduced. I think we could have gotten rid of some of the shades, some of the minor school characters, and used that time to really focus on the main characters. I think our biggest missed opportunity for a main character was probably Micah. Micah.
I think it's Micah.
Micah. Micah was interesting, right? The trans friend, which great character type to pursue. But I think they were introduced too late because they were trying to have Micah be kind of like the Hermione of the group.
Yeah.
But they were just introduced. We didn't really get Micah in the story until about 60% of the way through.
65.
There you go, right?
Whoa.
So, but Micah needed to be introduced around 30% early on in the world, but then they could have integrated into the friend group a little later.
I'd agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no notes there. I agree. Yeah, she came in so late I didn't consider her like one of the main characters, you know. She was yeah.
But I think that's kind of what they were going for with like they
Right.
were kind of like the trio
Introductions
right at the end.
build up later. Sure.
Well, Micah was needed for the basement.
It was, and I mean that was like those major plot points that were touched on later. But they were introduced so late, it kind of felt like it was Devin and Lysander, and then Micah was just like following them. Because there was a funny moment where in that the first basement scene where Devin and Edwin they go down, they're all three of them, and it's like chaotic, and they're hugging each other, and then Micah makes a funny comment. They're like, "What about me?" And then they include them as well, and I thought that was actually a cute moment, and they could have done more of that early on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I would totally agree with that.
Did you guys like the epilogue? I would argue the last chapter was an epilogue.
I just
What'd
thought
you
it
guys
was the
think?
last chapter.
I
Go ahead.
like I said, like I feel like it just ended on me, and like
Mhm.
I wasn't go back to school. Something I needed another chapter.
So you needed a resolution to them back to the normal world
A
because
denouement.
realistically,
What happened with
is
the mom?
we
What
had the
happened with
climax.
You know,
Maybe
like
yeah, something to
Dad's
set up
going
the
to go
next
move
book.
into
Maybe.
your house. But
Well, I don't
like,
think we necessarily needed the resolution with the mom, because I feel like the mom's going to be like a series antagonist. We got the resolution with the dad, and I was like, okay, that was interesting. But I think we needed a resolution for the main characters back in school, and the resolution became Lysander and his parents. Interesting scene, but I feel like that was more of an epilogue because it wasn't really connected to the main story, and I feel like that's probably more integral into book 2, which is why it led me to believe it was an epilogue.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with that.
That does make sense. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely thought that the mom thing was going to be a continuous, series long thing. So I wasn't expecting that to be resolved by the end of this book. It's definitely the kind of thing you introduce on that high of a level, those high stakes. Like you introduce that for the series, not for the 1st book. So yeah, I was cool with that.
I mean, I get that. It just didn't feel finished. It just
Yeah, another edit.
So then here's my question. What were you going to say?
I don't read books that end on cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my anxiety. I'm like, okay, it's not my OCD. I'm like, okay, I haven't finished a task, and I'm like,
Well, and I mean, I think this is something to think about when we think through ending a book on a cliffhanger, especially that's in a series. I think we can end certain cliffhangers, like and this is just me coming as a fantasy reader, you don't have to answer every question, but you do have to answer the main questions that pertain to the character journey in that book. If you
Yes.
don't answer the main questions, the reader's going to feel upset
Unsatisfied. Yeah.
because they now spent 300 to 500 pages to answer a question, but like, oh, maybe it's going to be answered in book 6. Well, I want to know this question right now because I've invested time into understanding this question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is why cliffhangers is such like a balancing act of which things can you actually leave off on a cliffhanger for a long series.
Yeah.
But it's also on the description page on Amazon, typically. If it
What
leaves off
specifically?
on a cliffhanger or it doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
typical.
I
Well, I
haven't
mean,
seen that.
and
You haven't
romance,
seen that?
yes. In romance, it will tell you because we get so angry and like, but yeah, like typically it will tell you on the description page. And I'm just like, I won't buy a book if it leaves on a cliffhanger and I can't buy both of them. If I can't buy all of them, I'm not buying it.
As a fantasy reader, I like cliffhangers. But I like that
Romance makes sense though because you are guaranteed a happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the
And
time.
so
I have a whole series that's 4 books, and they don't get the happily ever after until the 4th book. And like every one leaves on a cliffhanger. I waited till that 4th one came out, and then I bought all 4, and then I started reading.
Mm-hmm. So this is my question to you guys. So as we're kind of like looking at the book as a whole, what do you guys think is going to happen in book 2 or the rest of the series?
I honestly I don't know.
Magic.
Huh?
He's gonna finally learn magic that he hasn't been able to do. Like he's got the history all down. Cool story, bro. Now you're actually gonna learn magic in college. You know, so it's like
he's going to become a vampire and fight the Dolores, the Demon Queen.
He is a necromancer already. So no, I'm ultimately like invested in the mom thing. Like I want to figure out. I want to see where that relationship and that conflict goes because yeah, being on opposite sides with your mom, that's nuts. Like,
yeah,
who does that? That's crazy. Let's go. Yeah.
Devin versus trivia.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Trivia. Cool.
Awesome. So I feel like we were able to make a pretty solid conversation going over this. We would love to hear from you guys. What are you looking forward to with the next book? I know ML, you're here in the chat as well. We always want to thank all of our authors for submitting, no, for being making the book available and being involved in part of the discussion. So really cool. I think I myself am appreciative that I was able to read through an entire book since I just haven't had that time, and I want to read more books. So I was very appreciative of that experience, and I think we've learned that there's a lot of things that worked. There's some things that didn't. Sometimes some authors will go back and do a second edition of a book. Sometimes they will just keep writing on the series. Kind of depends on the author because you can invest time redoing a book, but then you're taking away time from doing more later on in the series. You're going to grow regardless. It really depends on what your goals are as a writer. Do I go write the second book and make it 10 times better, or do I go redo the first book? And that's something that all authors will ultimately hit. So awesome. Before we hop into reviews, do you guys have any like parting lasting thoughts on it?
No, I think I said everything I wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the book. I just wish I was more emotionally connected to each, like to the main characters. Like that's really my big thing. Like that's what it boils down to for me. If I was emotionally connected to Devin, then I would know all the answers to the questions where I'm like, you overthink why don't I have this? But I know what the coffee shop looks like. Like, you know, but that's my biggest thing.
We got the steampunk coffee machine, but that's about it.
I want more steampunk coffee machine that Micah works at the coffee shop.
Mr. Claxon says he's learned a lot today, and he says thank you all. Just wanted to make sure we give him a shout out there.
Yeah.
If the snakeskin boots fit, that was actually a great line, by the way. If the snakeskin boot fit. So Awesome, awesome. ML, thank you so much for sharing that with us. This is a great conversation. Now, as we move on to the next part, what is so important for authors and us supporting other authors in the community are book reviews.
Yup.
Book reviews are so important. Do you guys want to kind of go into your thoughts on why book reviews, what book reviews, how you guys feel about book reviews?
I think book reviews are important for readers to be able to see, like, oh, my reading taste seemed to align with this person and this was
Mm-hmm.
their thoughts, or like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this author didn't make this part known in the trigger warnings, and oh, there they are. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, and also reviews are helpful just to test the water and see what others are thinking so you can form your own opinion later on and
Mm-hmm.
see where you line up on the spectrum. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I think they're good because it also helps in the algorithm to
Mm-hmm.
boost the book that there are reviews that people are reading
Mm-hmm.
and engaging.
Yeah, any author, especially any independent author, will tell you that reviews are the lifeblood of our books. Like that's the number one like marketing tool for your books is good solid reviews. So please leave reviews for every book that we read in this book club, because we're here to help out our authors. All right, do it.
Completely agreed. And then anybody who wants to go leave a review for ML's book, Dead Caster, you can go drop a review over on the Amazon page, which I will drop here in the chat. And it's also linked down in the YouTube description down below.
Cool.
And just remember that the reviews are for readers, they're not necessarily for the author of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And be honest with your review, but also like
Try to be
know the
helpful with it.
authors. Yeah, be honest, but be like
Mm-hmm.
helpful. You know, like the author will read it, so like
Mm-hmm.
be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess that this is my question for you guys who are much more avid readers than I am. When you guys are going to go check out a book and you go check out the reviews, what are the reviews that always stand out to you guys?
I've
Like, what are like the
also
best, well written ones?
put in the private chat for you, Kaufman, the
Mhm.
Goodreads page if you want to leave a
Thank
review
you,
on Goodreads as well.
thank you, much
Smart.
appreciated.
Smart.
I go to one
Uh,
star reviews. If I look at the reviews on a book, I will go to the one star reviews and see what they're saying. And then I go to, well, I just go up from the bottom. I go to the one star and then I go up.
So
And
you
then
start from worst to best.
I found
Interesting.
my
What?
favorite books from doing that because some people are like, oh, like I don't like this type of trope. It was in the blurb.
Interesting.
I hate when they do that. It's like, did you not read the blurb? It's right
Yeah.
there.
this is blind
I
reading.
feel like Karens mostly are the ones that like will leave a review. Not people named Karen. Karen's the personality, and
Yeah.
so like I
I
want to
hated
go
I hated
read.
reading this book so much. I hate reading in general, but I just I really hate reading. This was the worst book ever, but I really hate
Worst book,
reading.
but I really hate reading.
Like,
Yeah,
I
so
hate
I go
magic
look at
books
the
with
one.
male protagonists. Let's read this book. That's a magic book with a male protagonist. Like,
Yeah,
One of the best pieces of marketing I ever saw an independent author do was it was on TikTok. It was this cut together video of all of her worst reviews from readers. And so like one will be like, there was too many characters, I couldn't keep it all straight. And he was like, so if you like books with lots of characters, and then the next person is like, oh, it was, and well, if you liked it, so she was marketing it to the people who liked the opposite of what all her 1 star reviews were,
yeah.
making
That's
her
really
1 star
clever.
reviews work to her benefit. Like, man,
I've
like
actually seen that video. Yeah,
that's
Mhm.
gold.
That's really clever. I like that. It's interesting, Courtney, that you start off with reading the worst reviews to the best. I ask myself when I've read reviews myself. I think I start off most popular and I just go top to bottom.
well, it's only for well, actually, I do that for everything. Actually, not just books. I do that for everything. If I'm looking at reviews on something, I'm going to the
Mhm.
worst. Like, what are the issues? I need to know those
Mhm.
before I decide to buy it.
have you read the iconic sugar-free gummy bears Amazon 1 star?
No, what is
It's a
that?
full-on story about how it just wrecked their bowels and they were stuck on an airplane and it was horrific.
That's so funny. I had actually in the army, I had a company
Well,
commander. No, it was my battalion commander wrote a book, and all of his reviews on Amazon are from soldiers that he has like commanded, and it's like roasting him. Like he wrote a book on leadership, and he's not a good leadership. Like
Oh no.
all of his reviews are like service members saying like you're trash. Like it's so funny. Like we for a fun laugh, we would all just sit there and like read his Amazon reviews. And I think that's why I started like just looking at 1 stars for everything because they're funny and you get to know what the problems are.
my first 1-star review on my book came from somebody that I know in real life. Like perfect strangers are giving me 5 stars, and somebody that I actually know was like, "Ugh, 1 star, dude."
Garbage. Put me to sleep. I read 2 words and I fell asleep.
But I don't read much.
Laura, Adrian, I'm curious. When you guys are looking at reviews, what are things that you guys are looking for as potential readers?
Well, I already have like a crazy long to be read list that
TBR.
books that I still need to either get from the library or buy and read. I'm reading 52 books this year, so it's a whole thing. So I'm not really right now looking at reviews, but
Not really, because you're kind of trusting your word of mouth
yeah,
recommendations.
yeah, like I've got a bunch of recommendations from people. Like I basically asked all my friends, like, look, I want books from like every genre. So just give me your favorites, your favorite books ever. Like I want to read everybody's favorite book. So I just have a list of everybody's favorite book right now. So they're all 5-star reviews. But when I do read reviews, I'm looking for people who are speaking eloquently about the book, meaning they're not having an emotional reaction and writing a review out of an emotional place. Like you can tell when they're just like all caps, like just screaming or whatever. Like I'm not interested. You're just having an emotional reaction. I want somebody who's gonna like tell me like, oh, this book was well written, the prose was good, the pacing was good. I had issues with these characters, but it made up for it with these other ones. Like stuff like that. Like tell me about the book. You know what I'm saying? Like don't necessarily give me spoilers. Just tell me how your reading experience was, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the reading experience. I'm looking to get lost in the story. I'm looking to forget about the world and just be immersed in your characters and your world. Like wow me, like let's go. That's what I'm looking for. So that's what I'm looking for in the reviews. When people are having that kind of a reaction in the reviews, I'm like, pick it up, get it.
And make sure if you are adding spoilers to review, mark it as spoilers. Like
Yeah, don't
do
be a
your
dick.
non-spoiler review and then mark it spoilers here on out and
Yeah,
then do your
yeah,
dump.
yeah.
Do people sometimes do a
People,
spoiler
yes.
review and
Yeah.
something?
There's a redacted review on my Amazon of somebody who just basically spoils the book in there. You can still click on it, you can still read it, but it has a big like like this review has spoilers in it. And Amazon did that for me. I didn't even have to like let them know. They're like, "Yo, this person is selling your whole book out loud. Like, let's go." And it was a mean. It was like it's like the only other 1 star is her, and she like just spoils the whole book. I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I don't know. Reviewers.
Well, Penumbra, we really appreciate you. You're like, my TBR is over 300, and I'm already breaking the no new books in the TBR resolution by joining the Read Now group.
Oh,
We're
snap.
talking about that.
That's what we do.
It's okay. Kaufman will
She's
put
read
it
my
on the
book
big
already,
screen
though.
for you.
What was that?
I said it's okay. Kaufman will put it on the big screen for you while we're not talking about it.
Hey, that's exactly what I'll do. Awesome. So I think that's a really, really great conversation about book reviews. Once again, for anyone just hopping in, go drop a book review over on for ML's book, Deadcaster, if you were able to check it out or read it on Amazon or Goodreads. We just dropped both links down in the description or down in the comments. It's also down in the YouTube description. So with that, I think that leaves us with one final piece of news. When we start thinking about what does the month of April look like for the Read Now Book Club?
I
Are you guys
believe we are
excited?
reading a sci-fi book.
Oh, wait, we're reading science. What's sci-fi?
That was the poll.
Science fiction.
Science fiction. Well, I am so excited. I've always been a fan of sci-fi, and I think it's going to be a nice contrast to we started with what? Paranormal fantasy. So we're definitely going in a different genre direction. And for all of you guys just dropping in, we'll be doing a new genre every month. So that way we're always keeping it fresh and we're learning from others' writing styles. But I think we are ready to announce the April book of the month. You guys think? Are we ready? Are we ready
We're
for that?
ready.
All right. The question is, Kaufman ready? That's the
No.
real question.
Apparently not. The answer is no.
So if you didn't know, we did have a poll.
Oh yeah,
For
what
you
were
to
the
vote.
4? What were the nominees?
Yeah.
The 4.
You have that pulled up.
Ooh, that's a good thing. All right, let me pull up that photo. So,
So even if they didn't win and you're interested, you can still go read and review.
And
Yes.
I know of at least 2 that I'm definitely reading, whether they get picked or not.
mhm. So these were 4 nominees: The Infinite by M.K. Williams, Mythic Shadow of the Spark by our very own Adrian Santiago, Magic Fall by Maxwell Alexander Drake and Marie M. Mulaney, and The Iron Service by Alan Ivers. And without further ado, us now announce our winner. The winner is Shout of the Spark by our very own Adrian Santiago.
I did not rig the election, I swear.
I have the iPad, I can see the results of everyone who's voted, and he didn't rig it.
He
Neither
did
did
not.
Bob.
Yes,
I
Adrian
don't
was not
know. How
responsible
many
for the
emails do you have that you could register votes with?
I only voted once, I swear.
vote. Adrian just registered
And-
under 10 different community members.
Yeah. I hacked everyone's computer and did it remotely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't put it past a
Cool.
sci-fi author.
No. Oh,
So
by the
this
way,
is this.
about that, actually,
Mhm.
it is officially sci-fi fantasy, so it will ease you in a little bit with a little fantasy in there. There's going to be a touch of magic too, so it's not. It won't be a hard left turn. It's going to be more of a nice curve, maybe a little Yui. We're pulling a Yui.
Excellent. So Shadow of the Spark, Mythic Shadow of the Spark is going to be our April Read Now Book Club pick. Adrian, do you want to read the blurb for your own
Oh,
book?
yeah.
For anybody who might be interested in embarking on this next book with us.
All right, so we're going to start here. Thousands of years after ancient Earth, humanity has forgotten its past and is doomed to repeat it. This first blurb is for the series, Mythic. For centuries, the last of humanity traveled the galaxy aboard a fleet of ark ships searching for a new home. They warred amongst themselves, formed alliances, and eventually split off into factions. The peace seekers that broke away found a ringed and moonless planet that they renamed Gaia in homage to their ancient Earth, orbiting a star that they renamed Sol because they want to recreate their old home. They gifted Gaia a moon in the form of a giant space station called the Spark. They built this by combining their 14 arcs, ending their nomadic ways, and committing to their new home. For 3 centuries, there has been peace for the last of mankind. The era of peace is over. The age of shadow has begun. This is Book 1, Shadow of the Spark, in which newly appointed Detective Migdalia Vandersee's first murder case was supposed to be open and shut. Wishful thinking. Armed with the latest technology, she unravels the mysteries of the victims, the killer, and the spark itself. The complex web of crime and corruption entangles her professionally and romantically, with a bounty hunter seeking redemption and a witch exploring the depths of her power. That's Lear Varian and Faye Noelani. They are our 2 other main characters. At the center of all the sex, drugs, secrets, magics, and violence awaits a prolific killer who hunts the streets with impunity. This murderer works to cover his tracks and stay ahead of the detective and her partners as they race against the clock to stop him from taking his next victim and tying off his final loose end. Will the help of Lear and Faye be enough, or will Migdalia's career end before she can close her first case? For mature audiences. I think Shadow.
Excellent. So very, very cool. And it looks like I was seeing in the chat, Christina said, I am lucky enough to have the paperback that I won from him. So cool, Christina. I know, Adrian, your book was one of the, well, was it one of the giveaways from previously? I'm lucky enough to have the paperback that I won from him.
I gave her that. She won that in like a raffle kind of dealy during some live stream. I can't remember which one it was,
Okay.
but yeah, there was one where like there was. I think it was the Author Tube Writing Conference, maybe.
Gotcha,
But yeah,
gotcha, gotcha. I was like, because we did so many giveaways during the Right Now-a-thon, but I don't
yeah,
think
I
we can
don't
have
think
the
so.
Claxon.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Very,
Now,
very cool.
so this is cool because it works out timing wise perfectly. If you guys have lovingly chosen my book for the month of April. This is actually the 2 year anniversary of the book being published. April 30th is when it was published, 2023. So in celebration of that, and for this book club, the ebook will be free for the month of April. Amazon doesn't let me do it free. It's 99 cents on Amazon. But if you go to my website, booksbyadrian.com, there's a universal book link there. It'll take you to a plethora of options for your booksellers, many of which have it for free, and you can download it from them. If anybody has any trouble, there's a contact me page on there. Contact me. I'll send you the ebook. No problem. It's just a file, so it's fine. So cool. Everybody can read it for free on the ebook. If you have the paperback, great. If you want the paperback, you can get that many different ways. And if you buy it from me on my website, it's signed without any surcharge on there. So get it for the same price as everybody else, but get it signed via me.
That is so, so incredible, Adrian. First off, thank you so much for making it accessible for our book club members. So we are near the end of the month, which means April 1st is literally right around the corner. So we'll be relaunching all those details on this coming Tuesday, April 1st, where you'll either be able to read the book for free by going straight to Adrian's website, or if you want to support him, you can go pick up a copy either on Amazon or get the signed copy through his website, which is very, very cool.
Bing, bam,
So
boom.
definitely a couple ways that the book will be accessible for you. So that way you can come join us next month as we embark in this next journey of Mythic Shadow the Spark. And with that, I think that's what we got for y'all today. Thank you everyone for joining us for this very first month, this very first live
Mr.
discussion.
Claxon got his copy from Kindle already. Dude's awesome.
Nice. Woo!
Thank
I
you.
already see a couple of our members are already eager to read or have already read the book, Adrian. So I'm
Yeah,
really looking
Maggie's
forward to
singing
what
my
next.
praises. She likes Lear. That's her favorite character. So she's
What
shouting him out.
I hope she chooses to reread with us in April, and maybe she'll find more parts of
Knowing
it.
her, she'll read it in 2 days. She's a monster reader. Like she'll
which is
devour it.
why starting on April 1st, we will update the book discussion. So for anyone who wants to dive right into the discussion of the first part of the book, we'll be able to. So what we learned from March is we'll break up the book into different sections week by week. So that way readers, you guys can partake in the Discord discussion if you guys want to chat about parts of the book that you like, or we could have a non-spoiler version of the discussion as well.
One more thing that
And
I
also,
almost
there's a
forgot.
video for how to spoil.
What was
In
that?
Oh, what?
I posted a video on how to spoil your messages in Discord so that
Oh,
You can censor them.
so you're not giving
Smart.
spoilers away. It's
Smart.
hidden, and then you click it and you can see it.
I love
I
that.
just wanted to add, in addition to the novel itself being free, the prologue isn't in the novel. The prologue is this thing. So if you want
So Frog's a standalone.
yeah, it's free as well by joining the newsletter on my website. So just enter in your email. You'll get this one for free. You can read it. It's not necessary for the discussion, but if you want to start at the beginning, this is the beginning. But you don't have to.
Awesome.
It's detached.
I
up to you.
love that. Doing the extra ad for the newsletter as
Yeah.
always.
Well,
helps.
that way they can get it for free because they can buy it too. But why buy it if you can get it for free?
It's fair.
Awesome, my friends. So I think that is so exciting. I know I'm very eager to continue in on this, and for me,
I'm
hopefully
nervous.
continuing in on reading. So we'll be back in the middle of April as we embark on Adrian, our live interview for your journey as an author. We'll be back. And then we'll come back at the end of April with our live discussion. And we'll talk about what we liked, what we hated, what we want more of, what we don't want more of,
Should
and
I not
all the things in between.
should I not be part of the discussion? I should be because I have the interview, right? So I shouldn't be here for the discussion.
It's up to you. I mean, ML's here for the discussion. He wanted to be roasted.
That's a good point.
We'll talk through it. We'll talk through it.
Let us know.
Offline. We'll think
it
about
in the
what will serve the discussion the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this week. For everyone in the Right Now community, I'll be back tomorrow with the podcast. I'm interviewing. I was like, where did my thing go? I was like, usually it's ready.
Looks really interesting.
I'm interviewing Chelsea Pippin Meetsy about tarot and shadow work for character development. She has a best-selling Substack, which has so much information on there. So we're going to be having a great conversation on tomorrow's podcast episode, 1 Pacific, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Eastern. So come back and join us tomorrow for our podcast.
Tarot for characters is really cool. I've gotten readings for characters specifically.
You have? I was like, I know very little about it, but I know we have a lot of enthusiasm in the community for like tarot and this type of work. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Cool. And everyone, before you leave, don't forget, drop a like. Help us show the algorithms that writing streams are cool. Thank you guys all for joining. I'm Kaufman, and these guys are
Laura,
Adrian,
Courtney.
And we'll catch you on the next stream.
Deuces. Hey everyone, Adrian Santiago here, founder of Books by Adrian, author of the Mythic series, and I'm here to encourage you to read now. Right now. Well, right now. Not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.